teach you the difference between reliability and validity, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with reliability, which reliability basically means how consistent your results are. So, looking at, for example, let's draw a target. This is I think the simplest way of explaining reliability. So, if you're shooting at a target, for you to have reliable shots, you would say like, you have plenty of shots near the same spot. Doesn't matter where in the target, the point is you have the same or similar shots every time. This will prove in an experiment that you're having, consistent results in your testing or in your information that you're using. And for us, that's very beneficial because, your information is not just coincidence. It's not happening because of mere chance. There's actually some correlation between X and Y to some extent where X is actually making something in Y, okay? And then let's have another target where the points are scattered. So even if you're hitting the middle where you're like, getting exactly what you want, this cannot be used for your actually theory construction or your experiment because there's no actual consistency. Like at this point, it could just be you got it by random chance. You got the answer you were looking for. Now, another part that is important in your theory building is validity. So, taking another target, your validity would basically be the center of the target. That's exactly the information you want to get. So, the way that validity and reliability work with each other is that for you to have a test that you can actually use is you need your results to consistently be hitting your desired result for it. It sounds kind of redundant, but that's kind of how it works. And the reason these two are important with each other and the reason they work with each other is because of a very simple chart. So the way you can draw a chart is you start with how reliable it is, and then it's yes or no. So if it's not reliable, then it cannot be used for your hypothesis testing. And then if it is reliable, then you can look at the validity of it. If it's not valid, then you cannot use it for your hypothesis testing. And if it is reliable, then you basically you can use this as a test. Now there's different ways you can check for reliability. You can, actually there's 4 main ways you can check for reliability, and it will be like the iterator, which is just essentially different people are giving you the same results. 2 different testers, they did their own experiments and they have very similar results. So you can say like it's reliable, the experiment is reliable. Then you have the test and retest, which at different time periods you make the same test and see if you have similar results. Like let's say it can work with political ideology or like whenever you're doing elections, at the beginning you test for what people think, and then later on you test again to see like what results you're getting. So it's just retesting the same thing. In this one, time is very important because depending on how much time you give someone, the results can change. Then you have the parallel forms, which is you try to divide in equal parts your experiment, like the things you're experimenting with or the observations you're going to use. And it has to be random and equivalent, and then both experiments should give you consistent answers or similar answers. And then the last one is internal consistency, which is essentially like a comparison within the measures. All of these things will just reduce the random error of your work. Then for validity, there's plenty of ways to check validity. I guess the most important, or some of them are face validity, which is talking, basically look at it and decide by yourself, does this look valid? Which is a very weak way of actually testing for validity, but if you have an expert with you, it can actually work. You have content validity, which is scrutinizing the measures, which is kind of look at all the elements that construct your experiment and say how relevant or how critical each one is. This one can be difficult in the sense that it's difficult to really separate all the elements of an experiment and everything that could be affecting. You also have construct validity, which is what you're testing related to what you're supposed to be testing. And then with this, you can get also the convergent validity, so is how similar it is to other experiments that are supposed to be doing the same. You can get the discriminant validity, which is exactly the opposite. Is it different from the thing? Like if you're testing for depression, and the discriminant would be, is this different or the opposite of an experiment that is testing for well-being, for example. You have the concurrent validity, which is distinguish between the groups being studied. So if you're checking for, I guess, power at work, you can distinguish between the employee and the boss. And predictive validity, which is, does it predict what it should be predicting, kind of thing. So do you understand what I told you?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you have the validity without reliability?
Theoretically, it is possible, but it's not something that happens. Essentially, it doesn't happen, but theoretically, it is possible. Just that it is possible to have something that is valid but not reliable. But to have a strong testing, you need both to be happening, because the most, I guess, the one that you would trust the most. You would trust the most if you have both things, but it's very difficult to prove that you have one but not the other. So, now that I explained this to you, do you understand what is reliability? So what is it for you?
Reliability is like what's expected to do, and it keeps on doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
How is it important?
it's important because it gives you like a standard base measure.
Okay.
So like it's supposed to be like hitting around this same general area.
Mm-hmm.
A little target.
Okay, and now how is it different from validity?
Validity is proving that something is right. Like you can't have, well, we just talked about, you can't have validity without reliability, but it needs to be tested. Reliability gives validity weight.
Yeah. So, yeah, reliability will get validity the weight. Validity is just it's hitting exactly
Like
what you
where
want.
you want it.
Yeah, like it's giving you the information that should be giving